Got to make sure you have a good posture, because if you sit like this.
Oh yeah, I'm posturing.
Oh!
Are the mics open? Oh my God.
Good afternoon and welcome to AM News Network presents Summary Judgment. I'm Rachel Baird, joined by
I'm Ed Peruta.
Legal investigator Ed Peruta. And I have a headline to read you. Can Donald Trump recover from this? Donald Trump's October surprise is so explicit, shocking, offensive, and vile that even he felt the need to apologize. His shocking comments go further than anything that has ever been attributed to him. I got a bunch of them here.
Keep reading.
Donald Trump is running out of ways to win. His odds of a win were spiraling downward. A timeline of surprises of the 2016 election. These are from CNN, they're from The Atlantic. The stunning developments are forcing a moment of reckoning for Republican Party leaders who have made a pact with a nominee many of them privately view as vulgar and unacceptable and must now decide whether to cut him loose. I could go on and on. The controversy is likely to hammer Trump's standing among crucial demographics who may decide the election. So there you go. You watched the debate.
You didn't have to watch the debate. All you got to do is watch the aftermath.
Are you surprised at any of these articles or comments I just read?
No.
Okay.
No.
And would you be surprised to know that these are printouts of articles from October 8th, 2016?
No.
October 14th, 2016, and November 2nd, 2016. These are the articles.
That would surprise me.
These are the articles from 2016.
That would surprise me.
They're saying the exact same thing now as they were saying then. Awful things, that he's never going to get elected. And that's the reason you can't trust anything that's said. That the media has killed itself when it comes to Donald Trump. They have been relentless in their abuse and harassment of him, so that anything they say now doesn't matter. It's just more of the same. So even if Donald Trump does do something horrible, does do something wrong, it's just so relentless what they keep saying about him. Nobody's listening, except the converts, except the people that are behind all this rhetoric. Joe Biden has somehow become some sort of symbol of grace and politeness and courtesy. But all I think of when I look at Joe Biden is that man's hands on little children, like you see on the internet. His hands on that one little girl's head that was standing right in front of him, within an inch of his body. Him trying to hug those girls that were trying to get away from him. That's all I can think of when I look at that man. Disgusting. And I don't care what you say about Donald Trump. I've never seen pictures of him touching little children like I have Joe Biden.
Well, let me just say something. Let's assume that Donald Trump has had sex with 1,000 people. He didn't do it with little kids.
No, and he didn't touch little kids who were trying to get away from him.
Right. But let me...
And that's what he does on camera. I just can't get away from that. I'm sorry. And I can't believe that people that support the Me Too movement and all these other activist movements are okay with what that man does out in public.
Donald Trump was flown by Marine One to Bethesda Naval Hospital. He was admitted because he tested positive for COVID. The First Lady has tested positive.
His beautiful wife, Melania. Yes.
And I'm trying to remember the name of the girl that's his PR person.
Hicks.
Hicks, okay? Tested positive first. Now, the minute he went into the hospital, the stock market futures fell 400 points.
Yep.
That is, and when the stock market jumps by 400 or dives by 400, that's not because of one person buying or selling stock. That's based on educated, knowledgeable, financial gurus looking at the market and trying to say, this could happen, that could happen, this is good, this is bad, whatever.
Because you know what happened with gun rights?
Yep.
Oh, we want to make a law about this. Oh, that's so reasonable. Why would any reasonable person object to a law about, having to get an authorization number for every sale of a long gun? Why would anybody object to safeguards and buying firearms on the internet? No reasonable person would object to that. But the problem is, once you don't object to that, then the next thing, then the next thing, then the next thing. And that's what people who do object to this incrementalism do object to, because they know what's coming down the road. And I got to tell you, Joe Biden is not radical enough for the people that are aiming to get him elected. He's not radical enough for them. And if he is elected, they're not going to be happy with him. They're going to be still demonstrating. They're going to be still burning up cities. And then what is he going to do to prevent it? What is he going to do to put his foot down? Because you know what? He has made a deal with the devil. He's made a deal with Antifa. He's made a deal with these radicals. And what are they going to do when he gets into office? Because let's face it, Joe Biden is not a radical. He is the most establishment person you could ever envision. What has the man ever done but politics? He knows nothing else.
There was a statement made.
He is exactly what the radicals are fighting. The establishment, the old white man who has done nothing but be a part of politics for the last 40 years. That's what they hate, I thought. But they're hoping he dies so Kamala Harris gets in.
There was a statement made by Donald Trump during the debate, which was a pissing contest, shouting match, name calling, and whatever, okay? And Donald Trump said to the public, the people on the other side of his microphones, Joe, I've done more in 47 months than you've done in 47 years in Congress. Why didn't you do this? What you're saying I should have done. Why didn't you do it? You had access to the president.
Oh, the judges, the appointment of federal court judges. You brought up a lot of good points this week about that. Why didn't Obama appoint judges? Why were there so many vacancies when Obama left office? Why? Right. Why would that be?
And now that there's a Republican president and a Republican administration, why are they bitching? Because they're filling vacancies.
I could see if Obama had filled the vacancies and then the Republicans got in and somehow expanded the federal judiciary so there'd be more vacancies and then they'd fill them with Republicans. I could get that. And that's exactly what the left is talking about if Trump gets elected again,
Biden wouldn't admit it.
expanding the Supreme Court.
Biden would not admit it.
Which
He
has
was
been
asked,
tried before.
He was asked point blank, if elected, do you intend to expand the Supreme Court? In other words, now the Democrats will start loading it up to overpower the possible Republican majority or conservatives on the court. I'm not going to say he did bad, but he was not answering questions.
Well, some people would say for politicians that's doing good. Because we talked about this ahead of time. Trump, to win this debate and to be seen as winning this debate, had to do 5 times better than Joe Biden, because the expectations were low for Joe Biden. He's had trouble getting sentences out during the campaign. And so the expectations were low for him. For him just to show up and to be able to answer like a human being, that's success for Joe Biden.
There is a question. Don't know if there's any truth to the reason for asking the question, but there are people who believe that Joe Biden was wired to receive information while he was on stage at the podium.
But I want to tell you that's been debunked all over the internet by, I would say, the same people who wrote the articles back in 2016. But on the other hand, I haven't found anybody who has evidence of that. And it's been debunked.
No, and I'm not saying it's true. What I'm saying is there are a great number of Americans who, once you say that, go, that's a possibility.
Well, I was talking to somebody in law enforcement who is familiar with interrogation techniques, and his take on it, because he was watching the body language during the debate, was at times Biden would look up into the air as if he were listening to something and thinking, and then he would bend over and write. And then at other times, he would seem to be concentrating with his head down as if he were listening to something. And that was his take on it. But again, we can read into things what we already believe, and that's always a danger. So until there's evidence of it, I guess, it's hard to carry that argument forward.
I am not carrying that argument forward.
Oh no, I'm not accusing you of carrying that argument forward.
No,
I think
and
it's
I know
good
you're
you.
not accusing
No,
me.
it's
I
good you brought it out, because
I
a
know,
lot of people
but
are thinking it.
It's what people are talking about, and I'm willing to join in the conversation. I'm going to go back to 2016 because President Trump referenced the escalator when he announced his candidacy. And he was right on the money when he said, I have been attacked with false information since I walked down the escalator to announce my candidacy. And I, for one, have witnessed the onslaught of information, true or false, about Donald Trump trying to sway the American public. And to be honest, I think he's done pretty good holding back, considering what they've been saying about his wife, his son, him. Seriously.
Yeah, I don't know how any human being can withstand what he has withstood. And he is a fighter, and he is used to being attacked, and there's no doubt that he came out fighting at the debate, which a lot of people are holding against him, which, I don't know, but in life, there are experiences like that where, for instance, you're in a courtroom and the attorney on the other side attacks you, and then when you respond, you become the bad guy, you become the focus of the judge. You're the one that's told to be courteous. And you can't very well say, well, the other guy started, because you just can't do that. You know, we're adults. But the fact is, the other guy did start it, so how can you not respond? Because if you don't respond, then you're weak.
The other guy had the element of surprise. The judge then is ready for a response to cut it off right there. But he's going to cut off the response, not the initial statement.
Right.
Let me walk over here for a minute. I'm fine, but I gotta adjust my knee. No, go ahead, keep talking. I'm listening.
Well, no, I'm waiting for you to talk, Ed.
Okay, hold on. Let me just get off here.
Yep. How you gonna adjust it? Let me tell my story from. I need you to talk to Ed.
Okay.
Yeah. We can end early. I mean, we
No,
just
no,
had a
no,
few moments about Donald
'cause
Trump.
I've got
That's really
something-
all we have to talk
Well, okay,
about today
let
is
me-
Donald
no,
Trump.
No. Let me talk about something today
Okay.
and get it on the record, and she can cut it and put it at the beginning. Okay.
But I did have a friend tell me, because I've been predicting for at least a year that that somehow the Democrats were going to see that Biden is in no condition to be running for office, let alone being elected to office, and he would not be on the ballot in November. Not because anything would happen to him, just because how are you putting this man forward as president of the United States?
Well, here's the question.
But now Donald Trump, due to his illness, and we're not going to know how bad it is, I understand, for another week or two, he could be the one that's not going to make it to the ballot. Not because anything's going to happen to him. I'm talking about just his health.
President Donald Trump could be seriously ill up until Inauguration Day and still be the president if he's not replaced, removed, or
Interesting.
whatever.
Right.
What happens when Joe Biden wins the presidency and he has not been sworn in, and all of a sudden that thing that you were thinking, that I was thinking, that everybody's thinking, saying he can't take office. I don't know what happens.
I don't think anybody will care. I think that the left will prop him up.
Yeah.
It'll be another Franklin Roosevelt, where the people were unaware that the man was paralyzed while he was in office.
Right.
And they're going to be. I think you can hide whatever's wrong with Joe Biden a lot easier than you can hide what was wrong with Roosevelt. And if they were able to hide that back then, although we do have a lot more scrutiny now, but I think they're just going to stuff Biden away in some closet in the White House and tell him to be quiet.
I made this statement 4 years ago, probably about this time.
Let me correct that. That's what they're planning to do. They're not going to do it because he's not going to get elected. But go ahead.
I made, I believe, a statement similar to this 4 years ago in a very similar situation where is he going to win, is he not going to win, who's going to win, who's not going to win, whatever. I said, I don't care if, and you got to take this in reality, but, okay, if he passes away in office, I don't care if he gets impeached. I don't care if he resigns. I just want him to become president. I want him to do what presidents should do for the period of time that he's sitting in the Oval Office. The reason being is in 2016, we had a vacancy on the Supreme Court. And I believe that Peruta v. California was sitting up there waiting to be heard by the Supreme Court, and I believe it was a courtesy extended to the left by the Supreme Court to take the gay cake case out of Colorado rather than the gun case.
Well, that happened. That happened after he was elected, though.
After in 17, but
yeah.
It was still, I believe, a sort of a concession. Now, there is a vacancy on the Supreme Court. And I have and had, because like I said, I was a liberal Democrat for most of my life, the opinions of the late Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I admired her writing. I admired a lot of her thinking, and I guess so did Scalia, because they were friends. All right. But you said it earlier. Why did the Democrats leave open 300 judgeships, 200 judgeships? I'll tell you why. Hillary wanted to fill them. Hillary was convinced that she was going to be the next president, and she would get to fill those 300 slots with, that's her payback for supporting her in the election. Okay? That's my personal opinion. I could be wrong. Okay? Now, Donald Trump, I heard it, not unless I was dreaming, because I've been doing a lot of laying down in bed with a sore knee. He's going to fill those slots. I think McConnell said, you mess with us, we're going to fill every one of those 300 slots before we leave office.
Well, I told you about the app that I downloaded where you can follow pretty much any vote that takes place in Congress, and you can, it's just so handy. You can virtually keep up with everything if you have the time. But, I was checking out the votes that don't make the news. Vote to appoint this judge, vote to appoint this judge, vote to appoint this judge. I mean, just lines and lines and lines of judges being appointed right and left. It's happening. It doesn't make the news, but it's happening.
It is.
I mean, only once in a while does it make the news when there are the arguments about the Supreme Court justices.
And I believe that the Democrats were so damn cocksure that they were going to win with Hillary that they left all of those judgeships on the table and said, Hillary will take care of it. Hillary goes up and says, could you do me a favor? Leave me a bunch of judgeships so I can appoint some judges.
So speaking of judgeships, in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, there was the argument en banc of Young versus Hawaii, and this is the case that challenges a statute in the state of Hawaii that pretty much makes it impossible to get a concealed carry permit.
Any kind of permit.
Yeah, well, concealed carry, there's actually a statute. You got to be 21. You got to be a lawful resident of Hawaii. You must be able to show reason to fear injury to your person or property, not have been judged to be insane or incapacitated, and qualified to use a firearm. Well, only one of those seems unreasonable to me. It must be able to show reason to fear injury to your personal property. I mean, we're skin and bones, and pretty much if anybody decides to harm us, it's not a real, it's not a real big thing to do. So to me, everybody has reason to fear injury to your personal property because you're alive. And I guess that it's a may issue state where virtually nobody gets a permit. So Attorney Alan Beck argued before the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, and it was remote. And so you had little squares of the 11 judges, and then you had Attorney Beck, and then you had somebody from the state of California representing them. And Attorney Beck had to concede, I guess, before the Ninth Circuit Court.
Was that the state of California, state of Hawaii?
Oh,
State of Hawaii.
State of Hawaii. You're right. I'm sorry. I was thinking of your case.
No, I didn't want. I know, but I didn't.
No, thank you.
I didn't want to let somebody come back and say, "Oh yeah."
Well, they can come back and say what they want, But we enjoy comments. But Beck pointed out at the beginning that it's case law. It's precedent in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals that the Second Amendment does not address, how should I put this, that the Second Amendment does not guarantee the right to carry
a
firearm concealed.
Outside the home.
Concealed.
Outside the home.
Right. And in Young versus Hawaii, they're arguing that the right does exist. The Second Amendment does condone or recognize the right to carry openly outside the home in defense of person or property, I guess, but in defense of person. So They have left behind the argument about concealed because they're saying that's already been decided by the state, by in your case, Peru v. California, and now they are attempting to differentiate open from concealed and say that open carry is addressed and recognized as a right by the Second Amendment. I don't think it's a good sign that they agreed to hear it en banc, because the decision of the 3-judge panel, just like it was in your case, was favorable. You know, they did say that it violated the Constitution. So now that they're going en banc, one can only assume that they're going to overturn it.
I said it. Why are we wasting the time of the appellate court hearing a case with 3 judges when, if you don't like it, go en banc, overturn it, throw it out? You know, the court has been seized by individuals who do not believe that the Second Amendment belongs as a right of the people.
I'm going to address that, though. I'm going to be the devil's advocate here, especially in a court that has so many judges, like the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. I mean, I don't know. It's got at least
20-something.
In the 20s. And so let's say you get a rogue panel of 3 people, and they make a decision that is just out of line with all the previous decisions that have been made in that circuit. I think that is cause to have an en banc to try to rein it in and bring it back to what it was. Or the other alternative is where you have a case of first impression, that some people would argue these gun cases are, that we're not going to let just 3 people decide a case of first impression for this whole Ninth Circuit. We want to make sure that pretty much everybody's on board with whatever this decision's going to be. So in those 2 cases, I do think en banc's appropriate.
The Democrats and the liberal left have never, in my opinion, worried about the makeup of the court politically leaning, the political leaning of the court, because they always had the left on their side. The pendulum has swung.
Yeah, I think 2 new judges were appointed to the Ninth Circuit, and we know where those nominations came from.
We've been on for 33 minutes.
Okay.
And we're not going to end.
I think we
But
could.
there is a section that I want inserted into this program, preferably in the beginning. Okay? And it is a presentation to a gentleman by the name of Michael D'Angelo, who is with Go Net Speed out of Rochester, New York. And I need to explain to people something that I believe is very important. I bumped into, read, talked to, somebody whispered in my ear about a company called Go Net Speed. And Go Net Speed is a fiber optic internet provider, internet service provider. And fortunately, they are in the town, they are in the state of Connecticut, they are in the town that we are in, and we are scheduled to have fiber optic internet in our studio sometime on or after October 12th. Now, to explain to people how you're getting ripped off by the cable companies, I have Comcast, Cox Cable, Cox Communications, in my home. They were given a monopoly by Congress and the state of Connecticut. In other words, here, you can have New York City. No other cable company can come in and sell cable and internet and phone, cable phone, in New York City. It's yours and yours alone. Towns in Connecticut. Connecticut was broken down into different franchise areas. And in Connecticut, we have Comcast, we have Spectrum, we have Cox, we have these different internet service providers or cable TV providers. And Cox has just sent out a bulletin offering and announcing and touting what they're calling the Gigablast program, the Gigablast plan, which means that you can sit in your house with 5 people on laptops all watching movies, and they've got download coming in, and it's not buffering because it's got all of this bandwidth coming into your house. That's the download side.
Right.
1 gigabyte, 1,000 megapixels per second. 1,000 megabytes is coming down into your home with Gigablast. Now, I looked because I had talked to these people, and when this came out, and I said, oh, that's funny. I said, now, let me look closely at this Cox Communication announcement of their Gigablast program. So I looked, and I looked, and I looked, and I got bad eyes, you know. And there it was, staring me right in the face. Upload speed, 25. So that means that coming down,
Not 25 gigabytes, though.
No, 25, let me put it into miles per hour. A gigabyte is 1,000 miles an hour coming down, or 1,000 traffic lanes coming down, where you can travel at 1,000 miles an hour to get to your destination. The upload side only has 25 lanes of traffic, and you're limited to 25 miles an hour. And if you put too many cars in the 25 mile an hour highway, it gets clogged, it gets jammed up, you get buffering, you get blown off the internet. And we collectively had a conversation yesterday with GoNetspeed, and I asked them a question, because everybody that I've talked to about this goes, yeah, but they all throttle you. In other words, if you use too much bandwidth or you download 1,000 movies a month, they're gonna choke your download speed. You're using too much bandwidth. There's other people that need to use that bandwidth. That doesn't happen in fiber optic. So I asked him, I said, do you throttle? He said, no, we do not. And that to me is one of the biggest selling factors, because here's the way I know a person, because it is COVID, everybody's working from home. And everybody's Zooming or IBM meetings,
Microsoft
meetings, or these programs where
people aren't
like us here.
Yeah, people aren't only working; they're socializing as well.
We transmit to 3 different YouTube accounts. We can't transmit to any more because it starts to break up, it starts to digitize, and you can't hear the audio because we're choking the internet on the upload side. Mm-hmm. If I get the 1 gig up, 1 gig down for $90 a month, by the way, okay, I don't think we're going to have that problem anymore, and we can probably go out to 10 different YouTube channels. Mm-hmm. All right, but I was impressed with the honesty, the openness in answering questions. He's going to talk to his people. We gave him some ideas about least access cable. But I want to tell you that it was a pleasure speaking to Mike, with you and Ariel, regarding what we may be able to do to work with them. It could benefit us and benefit him. that their company. So I needed to get that out there that I'm talking and I'm going to keep talking about this program because I think it's the best deal you can get for internet now.
Well, talk is great, but let's see how it works after it's installed, Ed.
There you go.
There you go. We're going to end the show today. It is October 3rd, 2020, about a month away from the election, and everybody put their
Well, I'll tell you,
seatbelts on.
I'm not gonna miss next Saturday because there's too much shit in the wind that could be happening between now and then that we may need to talk about.
Everybody have a great week. Bye.
Thank you.